Welcome in to the latest edition of MyTeam, another F1 Gamer Dad video. What a barn burner we had at Hungary last time out. Got pretty far up the field in a very quick dash at the start, only to be reeled in by the midfield teams later on. We tried a bit with the strategy, which ultimately didn't work out for us. But you'll never say we don't try. We don't lack ambition. But ultimately, we were fighting with the teams nearer the bottom of the performance index, the Williams and the Haas, unfortunately. But we go again, we reset, we think about what we can do differently. We're always putting resource points in, performance upgrades, trying to get our car nearer to the midfield, which is where we ultimately want to be finishing this season in. We want to be fighting for sort of the points every single race when we can. So today on to Belgium, to Spa-Francorchamps. We are it has a bit of everything, this race. Qualifying, dry. Practice, dry. Race goes wet to dry, and we've got a bit of durability in there. There's honestly a bit of everything. There's some great wheel-to-wheel racing. We join in practice doing our tyre wear program, and you can see Spa looking at an absolute picture, going through Eau Rouge and Radillon. The speed trap has us in a clear first position. The Mercedes power unit is absolutely phenomenal in the back of this rapid racing car. It's around the corners where we're juggling whether we go high downforce and leave a bit on the track for top speed, or we go low downforce, and we are favouring low downforce to make the most of the straights. And Claire is referring to a couple of instances where we did bang the walls and give our team a bit of a job to do in the repair stakes. Now we come into Q1. It is clear, but rain is threatening. So we're needing to get out there as quick as possible, put down a banker lap, get a time in, and then we'll see how we go from there. The showman, as always, giving a wave to the camera. And we pop in on our second qualifying lap. We've gone purple to the first sector. Again, we are the fastest in the speed trap by a pretty fair distance. It's through the middle sector that we do lose, and you can see a couple of bites of the cherry. 3 bites to try and turn in. We are struggling with front end grip. Ultimately just purchase on the racetrack. So not what we would like in a very twisty middle sector. So at the moment we're sitting in P20, very familiar place. We are quicker on our first lap than Dan, but we're sandwiched. We're in a Haas sandwich, which we would love to get out of. Lap 3, we've got 2 green sectors into the final sector, which is playing into our strengths because it is very, very fast. We go flat through Blanchimont, coming into the bus stop chicane, slamming on the anchors. All we need is good purchase on the exit of the final corner, and we get that. DRS open, and we've put ourselves up into a handy 18th, but ultimately at the end of Q1, we sit in P19, just a few hundredths in front of our teammate Dan. About as good as we could hope for there, to be honest.
Welcome along then to the Belgian Grand Prix, the race that gave us the maiden victory for the Jordan team in 1998. And in the same team, the phenomenal debut of a young Michael Schumacher. There's always something special around one of the many corners of this fan-favourite circuit. Spa-Francorchamps then, a 4.35-mile tour of the Ardennes countryside, with 9 right corners and 10 left corners, giving us a grand total of 19. Average lap speeds in the dry can reach about 145 miles per hour, but without a significant improvement in these conditions, we won't be seeing anything like that today. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1. So how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
Well, the throttle goes both ways, Crofty. You've got to have the discipline not to try and win the race on the first lap, so always be prepared to lift early and give those around you more space. Trying to be the last of the late breakers with half a dozen cars around you may pay off from time to time, but it's also a great way to lose your front wing.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Hamilton, Carlos Sainz, and Gasly, Tsunoda, Verstappen. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Vettel and Lance Stroll, Raikkonen, Russell, Daniel Ricciardo, and Giovinazzi. Leclerc, they've taken a grid penalty. Latifi, Smith, and Mick Schumacher. Fernando Alonso, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Mazepin, Ocon, and Daniel Ticktum. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
And there we have it. The heavens have opened. We have ourselves a wet race. There's promise of a bit of drying towards the end, but the strategy does say wets, extreme wets to extreme wets. It's not even giving us an indication that we might even be able to use the inters. So as we come in to take the grid, we can see we're in 17th on the grid. Fernando Alonso has taken an engine grid penalty, so that's good news for us. We're hoping to make the most of this start, get a good early run, and then hold position as well as possible throughout the first phase of the Grand Prix. Rain, as they say, is the ultimate equalizer. Let's see how we go. Lights out for the Belgian Grand Prix. A very cautious start with...
An issue with the control electronics box. That's going to do additional damage to all other power unit components.
I mentioned durability was going to be a factor during the Belgian Grand Prix, but what I didn't realize was that that would come into play before turn 1, before we even approached La Source. Oh boy, that's going to make this a very interesting afternoon. So we're up into P11, which is great. Made a real big dive bomb up into turn 1. We can see there is damage to the control electronics box. So we're just going to have to play it by ear. We're going to see how we go. We've got Ricciardo in P10 just in front of us. We've got good grip early on, actually, apart from straight off the line where we had enormous wheel spin. We find ourselves behind Dan Ricciardo in P10 and trying to go around the outside, and we've made the move stick. Grip levels at this stage on lap 1 are phenomenal in the RR1.
There's been an incident on track, but officials aren't looking to push for a safety car right now. Just be careful.
It's always nice hearing that from Jeff when it's not us that has caused the yellow flag. We've been involved in our fair share this season so far, and it's always lovely to hear that we have not caused one, and it's actually AI generated. So P10, Sebastian Vettel up in front in the Aston Martin in P9. We're looking really decent as we come into the quickest area of the track in the slipstream of Seb, and we are going to absolutely fly past through Blanchimont. We are lifting slightly and running slightly off the track. We've made the position count though into the bus stop chicane, pulling things up, and that is a fantastic first tour of Spa for us. Oh, there's another yellow flag. Not sure what that's for.
You're in the top 10.
So it looked like Seb actually had picked up some front wing damage. He's into the pits getting that repaired. So he is going to be shuffled well down the order. We're in P9. Lap 2 of 22. Could not could not be going any better for us. Oh, through Radion we go very wide. Had to lift off there as well. Not ideal whatsoever. The Mercedes power unit is really working nicely for us. And I feel like this car is more well balanced than it was in a dry practice and quali run. It's remarkable. It is fantastic in the wet, this car. And we can see Kimi behind us, 3.5 seconds back. We're actually widening that gap as we go as well. We do have Max Verstappen out of position in the Red Bull in front of us, so no surprise there that we're not necessarily making inroads on Max. And Yuki Tsunoda a little bit further up the road from him as well in the other Honda-powered sister Red Bull car of the AlphaTauri. And actually, in saying that Kimi is not making inroads, he has had to dive into the pits.
Okay, we're running low on fuel. Start lifting off the throttle a little before the braking line and letting the drag do some of the work of slowing you down. That'll help conserve the fuel you have left. Our gap to the car in front is 10.4 seconds. Daniel is coming in for his stop.
Some really early pit stops coming from the wets onto the inters. And you know what? I do think that is probably the way to go. We've got Valtteri Bottas in front of us, 1.4 seconds in the lead. Lando Norris still on the extreme wets, 17 seconds up the road. We're going to keep an eye on that. Oh, and there we go. In saying that, he is pulling out from Bottas still, but Jeff has recommended that we make a dive for the intermediates as quickly as we can.
Well out there, keep it up. We're looking at about 10 more minutes of rain. 10 minutes.
So he hasn't said come into the pits, but we're actually going to make that stop because I can see that the other cars around us that are on the inters are faster. There's no doubt that we're losing time to them at the moment, so we're going to make that dash. The majority of the field is doing the same thing. I think we've made the right call there for sure. We're in P11. We are behind Charles Leclerc and Kimi Räikkönen. Kimi Räikkönen, if you remember, he was behind us before we made the stop. So I think we've actually missed a trick there. We've gone one lap too late because now Kimi is 7.5 seconds up the road. Lap 6, we have gone purple to the first sector. We have a green second sector. We're setting some really decent pace here. But we are actually still losing ground to the cars around us. So Charles Leclerc now is 6 seconds up the road. Kimi Räikkönen almost 9 seconds. Oh, we're still having to lift over Blanchimont. Coming to the bus stop chicane, pulling it up. There has been an incident up here. Oh, we've almost made another unscheduled dash for the pit stop, for pit lane. Now Lance Stroll has retired from the race very early on. There's no smoke from the back of the car, so it might have been a gearbox failure or some other component that has failed on that Aston Martin.
Your speed, our delta is too low and we risk a penalty. Slow your pace immediately.
So the VSC comes out. Oh, and that has not worked in our favor. We've had to slow down drastically. Dan is very close to the back of us with Fernando Alonso in tow. It's okay, we have been able to pull out that gap again, making sure that we keep a close eye on the delta to make sure we don't cop any unnecessary penalties, which we are tantalizingly close to at this stage, having to really slam on the brakes, get that under control. Oh, it's always a tightrope, isn't it?
Maintain your pace until the green flag. VSC,
And
wait for green.
the same things happen. The VSC has gone, and we've had to slam on the brakes to avoid a penalty. And Dan is only 7 tenths behind us, whereas when the VSC came out, he was much further behind. So, quick recap. P11, 7 laps into the 22-lap Grand Prix. Rain is expected to ease in about 5 to 7 minutes time. So we're still good on this set of tyres. Things are about to get spicy though. Things are about to start changing up. The dry line, as soon as this rain clears, Spa is renowned for clearing
9.6 seconds.
For clearing very quickly. It's on the side of a mountain, so as soon as it does stop raining, you'll see that dry line appearing, which is what we want. We want to be the first one to box for mediums as soon as the time comes. And here we go. We make the dive for the pit stops. We are speculating purely here. The rain is still sprinkling. We've just had the pit window open for our second inters, but we are going against the team. We're making a bold prediction to jump onto slick tyres. Let's see how we go. We've got a front wing change happening, which always catches me by surprise. We're now on the mediums. As you can see on the camera, rain's still falling. We're hampered in a few ways here. So the computer electrics box is broken. We can see on the little mini map there, it is definitely hampering us. But when the rest of the field, almost apart from Giovinazzi, is on wet tyres, DRS is enabled. It is a dry track.
The stewards have now enabled DRS. DRS is now online.
Essentially what they're saying is dry tyres are faster than wet tyres now. There's a clear dry line opening up. DRS is only enabled when it is safe to do so. So we have made an absolute fantastic strategy there to box, to be the first one out there on the dry tyres, on the mediums. Fernando is still catching us, so it's suggesting that the Inters probably still have a fair bit of pace. They're able to keep the temperatures under control as much as possible to keep temperature in and make sure they don't overheat. But as soon as that dry line really starts to become more prominent, they're going to struggle to get temperature out of those tyres. And interestingly,
Daniel in the pits.
if we look behind us and at Fernando, unfortunately that is not a dovetail of water spray behind us. That's engine smoke. That is not what we want to see with 8 laps left in the Grand Prix and with a significant strategy which is about to come to fruition. Here we go, coming into 17th, 15th. Coming round La Source, we have Ocon, Ricciardo in front of us. On cold slicks, we are going to try our best to make up room and to attack them coming up here into Eau Rouge and Raidillon. But unfortunately, we have pushed things too far. You can see that engine smoke is not going away. Oh, and again, another moment in this season where we are having to pull up stumps earlier than we would have liked. We're out of the Belgian Grand Prix on lap 15.
What a magnificent victory here at the Belgian Grand Prix. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again. Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Valtteri Bottas takes the top spot. He's our new Drivers' Championship leader after today's results. Now, let's discuss, Ants. Who would you say is a contender for Driver of the Day?
Let's give it to Esteban Ocon. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend from them as they fight their way towards the top. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
Well, not the ending we would have liked. Dan finishes in P16. He showed good pace through the race, so he went for the inters to the mediums towards the back end like we did. He was a lap after us, so he couldn't make a dice through the field as nicely as we would have if we didn't have to fall short. I'm going to defend the strategy that we initiated as soon as we started this team from scratch. Pace was always the first priority. Durability will come. We want to be competitive, and if we do have to DNF for some races, even if it's races that we really look to take advantage on, we're going to. Okay, we want to be competitive. Durability will come when we are fighting for championships. That's when we need durability. But for the moment, we're fighting for the odd points finish, which is absolutely fine. Okay, so we will put some more resource points into the durability department. We will absolutely still be going for performance as well. And the next race out at Zandvoort, we want to be as quick as possible. So let's look forward to that one. Join us for another video on MyTeam. This has been another F1 Gamer Dad production. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to receive notifications for when the next MyTeam episode or other racing game content is available on the channel. And until next time, we'll see you then.